I watched the fantastic movie, The Banshees of Inisherin. Now, have either of you guys seen this?
Not yet. It's thoroughly on my list.
Mark?
Sorry, I was taking a tactical sip of my beer there. No, I've not seen this yet.
Okay. Right. I don't think it's possible to spoil this movie because, as you can imagine, it's a movie about a couple of blokes who live on what is a sort of fictional version of the Aran Islands off the coast of County Clare, up the Banner in the west of Ireland.
I've been there. Very nice cycle on a sunny day. It's very nice.
Burren, lovely place. Pile of rocks.
Oh, mate, it's beautiful. I love it. It reminds me of my granddad. And so I don't think anything I say is going to spoil the movie, right? Premise of the movie, really simple. It's the 1920s. We're coming to the end of the Irish Civil War. Colin Farrell is sort of like a happy-go-lucky guy who has a donkey and some cows, and he's friends with Brendan Gleeson, who is a slightly older man who plays the fiddle. And one day he decides he doesn't want to be friends with Colin Farrell anymore. And that is the premise of the movie. It's these two men and Colin Farrell, just how he deals with the utter bombshell. Like, imagine being on a small Irish island in the 1920s and literally the only thing that you've got really is the people around you. And then one of them says, I don't want to be your friend anymore. And then how you would deal with that. But it's played out at first kind of for laughs and jokes and hilarity, and the dialogue is whip smart. There's not too much of it, but what there is just, it's done very, very well, and the characters that are in it are just so, like, the ones that are one-dimensional because that's who they are, and the ones that aren't, or the ones that you might think at first are going to be one-dimensional, have just got so much going on below the surface that is so, like, beautifully communicated in such a bittersweet manner by the acting performances. Like, we know Martin McDonagh is a fantastic playwright / screenwriter / director, but the people that he chooses to be in his movies, and he does get a lot of repeat people, like this is basically Farrell and Gleeson from, In Bruges, and it's a completely different film in really, really different delivery manner, but they're both so good and so at ease with who they're meant to be in this movie and with each other, that they bring these characters to life in an amazing way. Like, it's a story about isolation, loneliness, insecurity, death, anxiety, everything that you would think that you kind of would have in possession at a time of kind of uncertainty, but also a time of there just being literally nothing that they can do on in this place, and it just being flat. One of the most heartbreaking, I'd say, roles in the movie is Colin Farrell's sister, who is clearly the smartest person on this island, and she just feels 100% like isolated, like she's kind of settled a long time ago into just being here, and it's not really until she sees Brendan Gleeson's actions that she's kind of inspired to maybe strive and achieve a little bit more. But Kerry Condon just plays her so well, and probably the most heartbreaking conversation in the movie is between Brendan Gleeson and Kerry Condon when they're talking about Colin Farrell's character and how they both have this deep affection for him, but they both know from, I guess, an intellectual standpoint that they are just far past wanting to have the same conversations over and over again with him. And it just, everything about it is done really well. I think there might be a few people, well, I said there's no spoilers, but I won't kind of tell you the direction the movie goes in. There might be a few people who are uncomfortable with the direction the movie goes in for, like, the final act. I personally think it's brilliant because the movie's been building up to something a little bit odd happening, and that thing that you kind of think, nah, that's surely not going to happen. They do it and then hammer it home. And then it just leaves the film on this, like, really weird cliff edge as to where they're going to go. And yeah, it's unresolved in the way it finishes. You're not really sure what's going to happen with these characters, but it's just such an interesting character study, and just how you can get, like, I mean, I don't think the budget for this movie would have been more than a couple of million quid, and most of that would have gone on the actors, but you can make a film like entirely isolated to a really small place, and have it be 2 hours long, and not do any fancy camera shots, not do anything but just point the camera in directions, use the natural scenery, use the contours of the land and the sort of like closed in old school scabby domiciles that they're all inhabiting, and just tell a story through dialogue and acting and the characters coming off the screen, and just leave you to your own devices to kind of make you feel how you feel about the movie. It's perfect. And the last thing I want to mention is Barry Keoghan. He is so good in this. He is the star, I think, of the movie. His character is another one that's just so painful to see what happens to him, and the direction that they choose to go with him. You think he's going to be this person that inhabits this very specific role and specific personality type, but the darkness that kind of exists around him is kind of made light of a little bit, but it's like a real deep set thing, and the way that his character progresses through the movie and what happens in his journey, it just, he's incredible. He absolutely 10 out of 10. It's the best performance I've ever seen him give in a film. So thumbs up to the highest degree. It's going to be an Oscar contender. I don't know if it's going to be one that takes the best picture, because it's just such a fucking strange thing to do, is create a movie like this, and you can tell it's the sort of thing that might have been created with the isolation of the pandemic kind of in the back of Maya McDonough's mind, but still, it's perfect at what it's trying to convey and what it does. So I can recommend it highly enough, boys, to go and see it as soon as you can.